Today, Alex sits down with head coach Pete Lembo of the Buffalo Bulls to talk about the upcoming season, as well as Akron head coach Joe Moorhead. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. We are here at Ford Field 2025 MAC Media Day. I'm sitting here with head coach Pete Lembo, head coach of the Buffalo Bulls. Welcome back to the show.
It's good to be back. Second year back in the league, second tenure in the league, and it's always great to see familiar faces and, from our commissioner on down, really try to do things the right way. So it's grateful to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Well, we talked about it when we were passing each other earlier, how cool that was to be part of that stat or the athletic department when the WNIT championship came through Buffalo. To bookend the season with wins over Troy, how cool was that for Becky Burke and that team?
It was very special and so cool to be sitting in the stands in a packed alumni arena. Our women's basketball's got a great following, and to see so many of our football student athletes there supporting the ladies, that was really cool to see too. It made for a fun spring for sure.
Love that. And speaking of success, Buffalo football surprised probably everybody but you. 9-4 season, a great bowl win, and expectations seem really sky high per the fan base.
Well, it's good to be relevant, I guess, right? Yes, you're right. I think we were a little bit of an afterthought going into last season, but my gut was that we had really, really good morale and chemistry in the locker room, and that proved to be the case because it was a group of guys that really, really enjoyed their time together on a daily basis, and I think that showed because we persevered through the season, rode out some highs and lows, got a few unexpected wins, NIU and Toledo come to mind, and then really started playing some decent football in November.
Yeah, some great football in November, culminating the end of the season with the bowl win. You've got some great offensive and defensive pieces returning, some key cogs, I guess you could say, from last year's team. What are the kind of the goals this season? I know a lot of fans are saying, hey, this is a MAC championship team. Well, how are you kind of adjusting and tempering goals for the players?
Well, first of all, I appreciate that from our fans, and hopefully we'll have good support in the stands this fall. I think last year a lot of it sort of was a pleasant surprise, and now they look at the fact that we've been able to retain a lot of our players, which is a great thing, and hopefully some of those guys will continue to perform at a high level. I think consistency is a big part of it. We had great moments on defense last year. You look at the NIU and Toledo games stand out where we played a really, really high level of defense, and then there were some other games where we struggled to stop people, particularly on the back end. Our pass defense needs to improve, and I hope it will this year. And then the same thing goes offensively. We started off the year sluggish, perhaps would be the way to put it, and then started to run the ball better by midseason, and then eventually started to throw the ball better. So hopefully we can pick up where we left off there as well. But as you mentioned, there's some new faces as well as some returners. So how quickly those guys gel, how quickly we can learn as a staff how to put them in the best position to be successful, I think all of that's going to be really important.
On the defensive side, it's near impossible to replace a guy like Sean Dolak. UB actually returns the most production in the conference on the defensive side, 74%. I think the 26% you're losing was all Sean Dolak, right?
What an amazing guy. What an amazing career. What an amazing story. And, to see him performing well so far in his short time with the Rams, I'm not surprised and very optimistic that he'll, whether he makes the team or the practice squad, whatever it might be, he's just a superhuman being and a guy you root for. But we are fortunate that front seven on defense returns a lot of experience, a lot of productivity, and I hope we have better depth than we did last year. Red Murdoch and Sean rarely came off the field at linebacker, and I look at our linebacker room right now, and with the addition of a couple Ivy League transfers, We're definitely much deeper there, so that should help. Hopefully a little bit deeper on the defensive line. So now it's a question of, can that secondary improve from last year, and that will be absolutely critical to our defense having the kind of season that I think they're capable of.
I was going to mention Red Murdoch, stepping up to be a leader on that side of the ball, and really an opportunity for him to shine. With of course as a compliment to Sean Dolick, but now to come into his own. On the offensive side, you got to replace C.J. Gbana. That's a tough replace on the offensive side. I think he did some really nice things for you guys. It seems like, based off of different things I've seen, it seems like Robertson's kind of stepping into that quarterback role. Is that
Yeah,
true?
We still certainly have a competition
Okay.
going into preseason here next week. But TQ had a very nice spring. He's a seasoned guy. He carries himself the right way. He puts in the work, which really our entire quarterback room does as well. But he certainly can spin it, and we're going to have to continue to do a good job as an offensive staff, making sure that whether it's him or if it's Gunnar Gray or any of our other guys that we're playing to their strengths. Having Aljay Henderson back, and we do have a deep running back room. That's probably, to me, one of the highlights of our offense is the fact that you've got a 1,000-yard rusher back, but behind him we have 3 or 4 other guys that have played a lot of football. Sure. And allow us to utilize them both on offense and on special teams. So our running back room is a group that excites me.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's going to be one of the toughest running back groups in the league, just based off of what I've looked at with rosters and stuff. A lot of talent and a lot of depth in that room.
Yeah, and we've got to do a great job as a staff making sure that we're utilizing those talents in different ways, because there's different shapes and sizes in there, which I think any good running back room has. And so now how can we incorporate those guys not only to the offense but to play primary roles on our special teams, which is something that's very important in our program.
Absolutely. And kind of moving away from that a little bit, we welcome UMass to the league this year. There's going to be a trip or I think they come to you guys this year?
They came to us out of conference last year.
So you go there this year. So, maybe this isn't something that you would deal with too much, but it sounds like there's some chatter online that this could be a Battle of the Amherst rivalry.
Well, I think that the two schools have a lot in common. We're both the eastern footprint of the conference. Mm-hmm. We are both AAU research universities, so bigger schools, flagship type schools in our respective states. And we both recruit primarily on the East Coast, so we do cross over with UMass quite a bit, recruiting high school players. So I could see, and obviously the towns with the same town in each state. So I could see where some people would point to that.
Love that. I guess I'll ask you kind of this other question. If there's something you can ask from the fans this year, you kind of touched on it a little bit. What's the one thing you can ask from the fans this year to show, hey, we're behind this program 100%?
Yeah, the blessing of being in Buffalo is that we've got so many wonderful people and amenities there. So we're over 1 million people in Western New York. Mm-hmm. We've got great infrastructure, an incredible airport. Obviously, food scene is incredible. There's just a lot of vibrancy in the town. The real estate market's doing well. We've got semiconductor business coming in. So there's so many good things going on there. And there's plenty of people and plenty of resources to support both an FBS college football program and the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Those two things don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Right.
For about the same price as going to the movies, you can come over to UB Stadium and spend the afternoon and have a great Division I college football experience. Park, 100 yards away from the stadium for free. Come in and, get a ticket for $15 or so, and, reasonable concession stand and all of those kind of things, and be a part of the vibrancy of Western New York, right? We're fortunate that we have the flagship institution of New York State in Buffalo.
Right.
So I would encourage fans to come out, and our players have done such a great job getting out into the community service, the visibility, just really embracing their role as student athletes and representing the university and the city the right way. They've done all the right things, and I'm so proud of them, how they've done academically, how they've handled themselves socially. So they're easy guys to root for. So even if you're not an over-the-top college football fan, just knowing and liking our guys is enough reason to come support them.
I love that. Pete Lembo, the head coach of the Buffalo Bulls. Coach, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it. Look forward to see the Bulls take actions this year.
And thanks for everything you're doing for the conference.
Thank you so much, Coach. All right, everybody, welcome back to the MAC Sports Connection. We are here at Ford Field, the 2025 MAC Media Day, and I'm sitting here with Coach Joe Moorhead, the head coach of the Akron Zips. Coach, welcome back.
Great to be back.
Great to be back. Great to talk to you again. It's this is always one of my favorite events because it's the calm before the storm of the football season.
Absolutely, everyone's getting ready to report for camp and get preseason rolling, and preparation for the opener, and hope springs. Even though it's summer, hope springs eternal.
Hope does spring eternal. Let's talk about a little bit of that hope. Last year, you guys built some great momentum. You won 3 of your final 5, including wins over Toledo and Eastern Michigan, and I think that was a huge turning point for a program that's been struggling for as long as it has.
Yes, and hopefully it was really a defining moment for the program. Coming off of the absolute worst non-conference schedule in the country by any objective measure, for us to be able to survive that, not just physically but mentally, and as you mentioned, win 3 of our last 5, 2 of our last 3, retain the wagon wheel, beat a Toledo team that's incredibly well coached and talented, beat Mississippi State and beat Pitt in the bowl game. I think most conference wins for us since maybe 17. It was like you said, a great way to finish the season. And
using that kind of as a launching off point, obviously the off season, we won't get into the weeds of that too much with the APR. How do you keep your team focused, knowing that the season there isn't an opportunity for a postseason? There's a lot of momentum. It feels like that was stymied a little bit.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, as the as the head coach of the program, I'm responsible for our players, performance on the field, in the classroom, and their conduct in the community, and those things have all improved over 3 years, and we'll continue to get better. But we got to own what happened. Institutionally, we got to make sure that we're doing everything necessary to provide all of our football players, but most importantly, the ones who struggle with their resources, to help them achieve success in the classroom. And in the current climate of college football relative to the transfer portal, where I think maybe 40% of the players or more who enter don't find a destination, there's a fundamental flaw in the system that utilizes retention as a metric to determine APR, and it's laughable. So yes, there's a little bit of a fly in the ointment, but at the end of the day, we're going to control what we can control, and then if we're fortunate enough to continue building on the momentum and get to 6 games, then we'll see what happens then.
No, I love that, and fans want to be excited about Akron football. Infocision, a beautiful facility, right there on campus. What are some of the things that the fans can really care about? I feel like if I look at it, players opportunity to continue to develop for pro aspirations, for whatever. But talk about some of the things that fans can get excited about for this year.
To me, it's trajectory, and as you and I have discussed, we took over the worst program in the country by any stretch of the imagination, and we saw some subjective gains in the first 2 years. 4 wins, but 10 losses by a touchdown or less, 5 by a field goal or less, and 4 in an overtime, including to a Big Ten team. And now we're seeing objective, actual wins in the right side of the column. And part of the attraction to coming back here is, number one, that we have won here at Akron before. I was in the booth and called the play where Dominic Hickson caught that pass to to win the MAC championship in '05. But football is a religion in Northeast Ohio, and you're dealing with Browns and Ohio State. But at the end of the day, I think the things that people can be excited about is we are on the right trajectory, and if you've come to see us play, our kids are incredibly well prepared.
Mm-hmm.
They're competitive, hopefully well coached, and we really, like I said, played a very competitive brand of football for 3 years, and now you're seeing us win games.
It's that slow turn the ship.
It's a slow burn.
Yeah.
It is. In an instant gratification society where we want to put everything in a microwave, and but I mean, I think we're cooking this thing the right way.
The wagon wheel, arguably one of the greatest rivalries in college sports. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's one of the coolest trophies. Always a big one. 10 miles separate the two. Kent State's been down a little bit lately.
Yeah.
That's huge for your guys. We're rattling off these wins.
Yeah. I don't know how many years it had been since we won it prior to us getting here. I know, Coach Lewis had done a nice job in that first year. We were up big, and then they came back and did a nice job. But I think one of the a defining aspect of college football amongst a multitude that make it special are the dang rivalry games.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter, and the cliche, you throw out the records, but like they say, it's just different. And when it's for the wagon wheel and it's against your rival, and there's a lot of familiarity between the players and the fan bases and proximity between the schools, it just takes a matching game that it's always exciting, and just it cranks that thing up a little bit.
Now, with that rivalry, one of the things, and you named it, what makes college football so special is the rivalries. I feel like with all these conference changes and everything, we're starting to see the elimination of a lot of these, and I think that's what's watering down the product.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, is it dilution? Is that the right word?
Yeah.
I mean, it gets, and that's say an unfortunate kind of aspect of the, I guess you want to call it progress, but the changes that are being made in this seismic landscape is that teams that have and could and should be playing aren't anymore, and the ones who suffer are the fans and the players, not the ones that are involved in kind of the bigger decision-making picture.
The guys behind the scenes with the money. Yeah.
Well, you said it. I mean,
I wasn't gonna let you. I wasn't gonna make you say it. Don't worry. No, so this is a program that I think, again, fans want to get excited. Who's kind of showing? Who showed up in spring ball? Who's kind of showing up in summer workouts?
Ben Finley, in a big way, has added a lot of size to his frame, and hopefully can build off a very successful first full season as a starter. He had spot duty at NC State and Cal, so we're expecting a big year from Ben. We lost Simmons and Kellum to the portal, but we replaced him with Jordan Gant. Sean Patrick's a kid we had a ton of excitement about. Added Taven Curry, so we've got talent there, but just some inexperience, even though Gant had played a lot at Tennessee State. Alex Adams back to fully healthy, which is fantastic. And then a combination of some guys who have been here, and I think 4 or 5 more portal receivers.
Okay.
I think the area that excites me most are a couple of the returners, but the new guys we're bringing in on the O-line. I think you're going to see a unit that I've been around some really, really good ones. We look different. Now we got to get to camp and see if we can play, but on offense, I think that's what we're looking at.
Sure. One of the things that's been kind of a popular question today, if there's one thing you as the head coach could ask the fans to do to support the team, what would that be?
It would be to show up. And I think there's different ways to, show your support, whether they be financial or moral support or whatever it is. But and I think it goes back to kind of what I said, or we discussed a little bit earlier, being in an area where football is incredibly important. And I was remiss to not mention high school football as well.
Sure,
in Northeast Ohio. So I just think that, like, you come to see Akron play, you're going to get a ton of bang for your buck. You're not going to get gouged with parking or ticket prices or things like that. The MAC's a very good brand of football, and once again, you're seeing the evolution of a program that is learning how to win. And if the ball bounces the way it's supposed to bounce, hopefully, and we've earned the right for it to do so with our accountability and our discipline and our preparation. And I think there's going to be a pretty exciting brand of football played in Akron this fall.
Awesome. Coach Joe Moorhead from the Akron Zips, thank you so much for your time today, and good luck to Akron this fall.
Awesome. Always a pleasure, man. Appreciate it. You do a great job.
Thanks, Coach.